Hey everybody, what's up, and welcome back to another Starcraft 2 Owned Shack Masters League quest episode. This is episode 5 of Justifier's quest to the illustrious Masters League, and it's going to be another Terran versus Zerg for you. All of a sudden the floodgates opened and I started facing Zergs left, right, and center, so I got plenty of material to cover here, and this was a very interesting game. It was one where I felt like I played a very solid game.
Not enough
What I mean by that is sometimes you play a game where even if you lose, you still feel good about it. You know what I mean? That's kind of the feeling I got after this game. I'm not going to spoil whether I won or lost, but the point is you feel good regardless of whether you win or lose. So anyways, yeah, and this, as I said, on Xel'Naga Caverns, you know, I'm starting to really dislike this map. The reason is because I keep getting cheesed here. It's just, I don't know, I find that when you know exactly where your opponent spawns, because it's a one-player map, it can be a little unfair at times. What I really hate is what happens here mostly in my Terran versus Terrans, is my opponent just goes for a stim push all in with 3 barracks, and there's nothing you can do about it if you teched. It's ridiculous. I can't wait for that stim to get nerfed for the 170-second upgrade, instead of the 140 that it's at now. That'll really help to calm these pushes down, because that extra 30 seconds, oh, you could have siege mode up, you could have another tank, way more fair. It's just, the all-in is not healthy for the game in my opinion, and yeah. So what I'm going to be doing right now is just going to go and scout him, see what's going on. It's a one-player map, like I said, so I can easily send my SCV there quite quickly. I'm just going to be checking for that expansion first. Now, I got there a little bit early because it is a one-player map, so obviously the expansion won't be out quite yet. And the other thing I'll check for, okay, so it's a pool first build, no gas, he is going to expand. So I immediately bring my SCV back out while I'm constructing my gas at home. And what I'm going to do in this game is put an engineering bay down, because I see that drone coming. I'm like, okay, let's be as annoying as possible and delay that expansion so that I can get my tech out safely while he doesn't get an economic advantage over me. And so, yeah, I'm just going to be waiting until my SCV has about 5 HP, and there I go. I halt the construction there and run away and let that engineering bay just sit there for him to try and destroy. Now, my plan here was to actually go for Hellions, because when a Zerg goes for a fast expansion, well, Hellions can be very good, because that speed comes a little bit later. As you saw, he had no gas, so there's no way for him to get speed out quickly. Now, what you have to be careful, of course, is him pulling an all-in on you from here. It's very likely, because, well, you've taken his expansion, and he's probably going to be pretty mad, and he won't really, maybe he doesn't want to play a game where he's at an economic disadvantage because of this, and yeah, but either way, with good scouting you can probably prevent that from happening. I'm going to be putting the factory down there as well. And I see the Zerglings are now attacking, so I'm like, okay, it doesn't look like he's going to be all-inning me if he does want to clear that engineering bait out ASAP by getting those Zerglings. Now, what you probably would want to do is send another SCV back in there just to scout if he's mining gas after he's already got 100 for the metabolic boost upgrade. Please note, I cancelled that engineering bay when it had 10 HP left, so I didn't lose the minerals. You're going to want to do that. Don't lose that unnecessarily. But anyways, yeah, and if you can get that SCV back in there to scout, you are going to be at such a huge advantage knowing exactly what he's doing. Also, you're going to want to prevent him from scouting with any overlords, so I have my Marines sort of like scattered around my base. There's an overlord at the top there, but you can't really scout me for now. But what I do notice is that a lot of people like to come from the bottom of my base and bring their overlord up there and see all my production facilities, and that's not something you want to do. So I did go for the 1-1-1 build here, and you know, I was just bringing my SCV back to scout again, just to make sure the Hellions would work, and I see, okay, so he didn't do any thing where he would go all in, and he still is making that. And then I look and I see the Roach Horn, I'm like, okay, Blue Flame is not going to work. I immediately just start saying, siege tanks. I gotta get tanks now, if this is what he's going to be playing. Obviously, Hellions, probably not the best thing to get against Roaches. You can really shut down your harassment. And the other problem with getting the Hellions is the fact that if he comes at you with a Roach push at home, you really won't have anything to defend. And also, I got the starport out just so I could get a Viking and clear out those overlords, if you're wondering about that. Was a little bit gas pressed. I will admit the second gas was delayed here. There comes the siege tank I was mentioning. Looks like I got the Viking first. I'm not really sure I agree with my decision there. I think the siege tank first would have been a better idea. Still just patrolling around there to make sure that no overlords are going to see anything. And I do put the bunker down. You're going to need that really when he comes at you with those roaches. If he comes at you with the roaches. But, you know, you have to give him the benefit of the doubt and put that there because, you know, it's you who loses if he does and you don't have a bunker. So the Vikings now out, and I'm going to be checking the usual overlord spots. And unfortunately, I am unsuccessful in doing so. And I see the Zergling coming to check things out. And when that Zergling comes in, he's going to be disappointed that his roach play probably isn't going to be too effective here. So I'll continue to fly around with that Viking, try and get any overlords where I can just to try and supply block him. Any amount of harassment is always a good thing. And yeah, that's pretty much the build for now. You will notice I have the expansion now up and running, because I do like to go for a macro game. And here's where the build is going to diverge from the other Terran vs. Zerg I showed you. I decided to go for the tank and marine production instead of the tank, heli, and Thor mix that I had in the previous broadcast I made. And that's just because that can deal with brute lords a heck of a lot better than the mech can. Oh my god, that was terrible. I'll be sure to definitely be sure to keep that in mind next time I go for mech versus Zerg. The heli, or sorry, not the heli, the Viking is still looking around everywhere to try and find overlords. It looks like this guy does not like to put overlords around the map, and probably for good reason. I mean, look at this. He's denying my Viking from getting any kills by that. So I have 3 tanks out, and this is the timing you're going to want to hit with your expansion. Right as siege mode finishes, transfer those SCVs, get the gas immediately, because, well, this is so gas intensive that you really need it. I'm going to be getting a lot of siege tanks, a lot of upgrades, some medevacs. It's going to be a nice medley of units, and also going to be getting the engineering base, of course. One thing that I made a mistake here in doing, I got 2 engineering bases at the main, and then I go and wall off the Taste the Secret hallway with a 3rd one. I think I should have just... by the way, I scouted his hidden expansion with the Viking. Very important there. Good thing I was moving that Viking around the map. But anyways, yeah, it's a little risky upgrading in the Taste the Secret hallway, but either way, it's probably a good idea to have that engineering bay. So the Vikings now going to go take out the Overlord I just saw on the minimap there, and that Overlord should be dying in a reasonable amount of time here. There he is. Goodbye, Mr. Overlord. So now that I've seen his hidden expansion, I decided, okay, this is what my plan is going to be. I'm going to try and harass the crap out of that expansion while I take my 3rd at the goal, just to try and distract him. And so that's what I pretty much do here. Meanwhile, I'm researching stim and the combat shields for my Marines, I believe. Well, one disadvantage of doing a first-person video is you can't go and move around the map on your own and check what's going on. You're going to want to get those refineries saturated immediately as well. And now I'm going to start building turrets because you got the Roach Warren, his mutas will be delayed. And so that's why I decided to put these turrets down a little bit later than you would normally see. And I like to put a lot of them up. I know it's a huge waste of minerals, but it's so difficult to get your Marines back in time, and then the mutas just leave, and then you're left feeling, you know, SOL, and it's just never a fun thing to do. And I should actually be starting my upgrades right about now, but it's okay, I guess. I did go for the stim before the +1, which is always a good idea. Now that my medevac is out, I should be starting to harass that expansion. What you're going to want to do is drop, and with stim I can easily clear a large number of drones immediately after I drop those Marines, or at least force them to pull off and deny mining time. It's always a good thing. And because he didn't go for mutas first, those delayed mutas, that's what you really need to deal with drops, so it's a good idea to do drops when they have gone for those roaches first. And you know what, to be honest guys, I've been seeing a ridiculous amount of roach play these days. It seems like Zergs are starting to move away from the muta baneling play that we typically see and go into the roach speed banes. Seems to be the new style here. I'm going to be getting those upgrades now, 1-1. Also going to drop my Marines right behind the grass there so he can't react quickly. You obviously don't want to drop in his sight. It's never a good thing. Hotkey at all to 4, go in and stim and just clear out a ridiculous amount of drones. Also going to snipe his queen fast. There goes the queen quite quickly. And meanwhile, just keeping up with my macro. If you look at the black box, you should see I do like to just sort of go between my factory and there just to see when I need to build stuff. And yeah, I pull out immediately once the reinforcements get there to clear out my Marines, and I'll be sure to keep coming back for more. So now I'm going to make that expansion so that I can start getting my own resources gathering. And I'm going to throw down a scan there just to see the unit composition. I totally missed though, only managed to see a bunch of overlords unfortunately. And now that my second base is fully saturated, I'm going to get more production facilities, going for 2 factories off of 2 bases with 4 barracks I believe, 2 with a tech lab and 2 with reactors. Also going to be dual pumping medevacs. This isn't really a sustainable thing off of 2 bases, but with my third well on the way, it should be somewhat reasonable. So as you can see, just continuing to macro up, get more defense. I'm a very passive player. I don't like pushing out early. It's something I really should do once I get my timings a little bit more set. And what I mean by that is the timings when my opponent is weak. At that point, I think I'll really start to do a lot stronger pushes in the mid game rather than turtling up until the late game. So don't worry about that if you think my games are boring or anything. That should change as I get better. One thing I've noticed as I've been playing in the on my Masters League quest is that actually the better players I've faced, the ones that are slightly favored, are masters of harassment. They never let you sit still for 1 second. They're constantly at your throat. They're always making you just, you know, be on guard, and what I mean by this is they're constantly poking at me. Just prodding with that probe for a ridiculous amount of time in the early game, coming at me in the mid game with a few stalkers or a couple zealots and a stalker. And these things, they might not do a ton of damage, but they've been screwing up my builds. And that's the difference, I think, between a high-level Masters player and a high diamond like myself. So I'm going to really have to become a master of harassment, and I'm also going to have to learn how to not fall apart when I'm getting harassed in order to get into that Masters League. I'm also going to scan there to see the expansion timings of those, and I see, okay, this is great. He just got his third because there's not many drones there yet, and I'm just getting my third at the same time. I'm assuming that he doesn't have too much saturation going on at the hidden base that he has, but I'll be, I'll be keeping tabs on that throughout this game, as you'll see. So now I have a nice healthy stock of medevacs, marines, tanks. I've got it all, and I'm getting my upgrades. I think I have 1-1 completed right now. This is another timing issue that I have. What you'd want to do is get that armory right as 1-1 finishes so that you can immediately start 2-2 for your marines and a +1 for your tanks. As you can see, I have another medevac going over to drop him. My planetary fortress is now up, and you're going to want to clear out these creep tumors. Also going to be getting another starport. That's just in case he has burrowed. Actually, you know what? I can't remember what I did. And he does have a spine crawler. That's a great idea for the early game when I don't have stim. But a bunch of 1-1 stim marines versus spine crawlers is not going to be too big a deal for me to handle. And he brings his forces back, and I just pull out, and I see still no mutilisks. This is very strange. It looks like he really wants to go for those and never mind, hold that thought. He comes in with this massive rush, and what you're going to want to do here is pull back your marines, let the tanks deal the damage, and as you can see, the planetary fortress is even doing quite a number on his forces, and he does take it out. I didn't prepare it, and yeah, I'm down at base now, and so in this situation, don't worry. You are at a much greater advantage than you might think, because he sacrificed his whole army to kill that base. So what does that mean? Well, that means you have a massive army advantage, and you can go push his base right now and take out one of his expansions. And that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Also going to be trying to get an expansion elsewhere while I rebuild the gold. So I'm going to hotkey everything, and I'm going to scan to make sure, and I see, okay, his forces are now here. I've got to siege up, stim, pull back the marines, get out of the way of the banelings, and yeah, the tanks should deal all the damage to the rest. I was a little bit worried about those overlords. I thought he might be doing a Bane Rain strategy, but turns out it wasn't. Meanwhile, he's attacking that SCV building now, so I have to cancel that expansion, unfortunately. And I'm just going to build it outside here. Meanwhile, I take my medevac and drop him at the same time as I'm pushing. Going to be stimming up to take that out. Also, probably going to want to move your siege tanks a bit more forward, and that's exactly what I do. Going to be scanning to take out creep tumors as well, because I don't want him to have vision of my forces. And yeah, The drop is now in position while I'm doing this. This is the best time to drop because he has no way, if he doesn't have the multitasking ability, to deal with all of this. And it looks like he has nothing even left there. And I see something very strange. He actually built his lair over there. It's novel to say the least. It's so exposed. I definitely don't recommend doing that. So I'm not going to be relocating my rally point over to where my army is instead of on a unit directly, because if a unit dies, that way the units will still start streaming towards there, also maybe getting a planetary fortress there again and resaturating those geysers. And as you can see, I managed to take out his base. He's just, I think he's so shook mentally right now that he really can't deal with all the pressure I'm putting on him. Also going to be continuing to creep forward with my tanks, taking out his tumors, stim the Marines unnecessarily there, and this, no, never mind. Yeah, so he's going to try and do damage once again, but he's just attacking into a massive amount of siege tanks, and it's really never something you want to do. Also going to be dropping in the main base here to try and snipe this queen. I'm going to stim up and take her out relatively easily. I have 2-2 upgrades on the way right now, so I feel pretty solid at this point in the game. I'm taking out a bunch of his bases, and I should have a really nice lead if I plan this right. Also going to be dropping this expansion over there while my my drop in the main gets cleaned up by his forces. I'm going to be starting +1 for the mech units, the siege tanks. So I go ahead and drop here and take out the spine crawler, or at least try to. And I notice, okay, he's bringing his forces, pull back. The mutalisks have finally arrived, and so I'm going to bring these guys back forward so they can't pick off the drop ships. Just take, yeah, there you go. The Viking's actually still out doing damage, but I think his days might be numbered. And that expansion is now done, so I'm going to bring a couple Marines over there to clear out the Zergling so I can safely land it and get that saturated. Meanwhile, my push just ever more, just creeping forward with the tanks, going to scan again. See, he has a large number, so it looks like he's switched completely into Mutalisks and Banelings at this point. And I'm now maxed out at 200, so I'm feeling absolutely superb. I believe my +3 upgrades are now started. Like, clear out your Zerglings. Going to want to keep an eye on the minimap so you can prevent things like this from happening. I was caught a little bit on siege. But yeah, this is pretty much the decisive battle to see who's going to win. Because he went for Mutalisks a little late, his upgrades are lacking, and my Marines easily shred through those, being a 2-2 that they are. So what you're going to want to do in this case, if you're a Zerg, is go harass their main base with your Mutalisks. You can't really engage directly on that massive line of siege tanks, as a lot of people who have played with me might know. And so yeah, this is pretty much the strategy of going against that Zergs in the mid-game. I think this is the most prevalent one, and it seems to be working the best for me. So I'm going to keep going with this. And I noticed this Banelings hadn't even morphed yet, so I pushed a little bit forward because there's nothing he could do to deny that. I'm going to be sniping off a few there. Meanwhile, my medevacs are just healing up the Marines with the stim. Going to be landing this base finally. That was a little bit sloppy on my part. Should have had that out way earlier. And yeah, this is where the medevacs take a hiatus. They decide they want to go chill out somewhere else. And that's okay. You know, I'm a good commander, so I'm just going to let them have their fun. 3-3 is still on the way. I'm going to get the vehicle plating as well. Medevacs are now going to be forced to come back. Sorry, your vacation's over, guys. I was going to be inching ever more forward with those tanks. Continuing to scan to see what he has, and I realize, okay, yeah, at this point I pretty much won the game. I don't really think there's anything my opponent can do now. He's just lost so much economy, so many production facilities, which are his bases. And yeah, I just do one more scan to push in for the win, and he leaves the game. If I remember correctly, he was actually about a 2300 rated Zerg player. Let's take a look here. Yeah, he's got quite a few games actually, so yeah, he's 2369. Pretty decent. I've been moving up in the ranks. Getting really sick of the all-ins though on the ladder. Oh, getting very annoyed with that. Can't wait for the new patch. I think they'll fix a lot of that stuff. But anyways, here's to another episode of my Masters League quest. I really hope you enjoyed it, and thank you once again for watching. Hope to see you again for another daily dose of everyone's favorite drug, ownage.